Back now on Race for the White House, I'm David Gregory. Tonight from Nationals Park in Washington. Why are we here? Because, as I said, there are two big games in Washington right now. The campaign for the White House and Nationals baseball. Baseball is also big with a new ballpark in this town. That's why we're here tonight. And now time for the three questions. Still with us, host of the nationally syndicated Ed Schultz Show, Ed Schultz himself, host of NPR's News and Notes, Pariah Shadea, and the Washington Post, and Kornblut, as well, the host of MSNBC's Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough. First up, the top commander in Iraq, General David Petraeus, will testify tomorrow before two Senate committees, and all three presidential candidates, Senators Clinton, McCain, and Obama, will all have the opportunity to question the general. That could spark some fiery exchanges. The last time Petraeus was on the Hill, Clinton said his report of progress in Iraq required a willing suspension of disbelief. So our first question today, how will the candidates face off with General Petraeus reshape the war debate? Joe, what do you think?
I just don't think it will. And again, if you look at these poll numbers, they're surprising poll numbers. And I know a lot of people out there may say, well, he's saying this because he's a former Republican congressman. I'm not. You've got John McCain up 14 percentage points against the two Democratic candidates on handling the war in Iraq. It seems counterintuitive, but Americans like somebody that knows what they believe in and is willing to fight for what they believe in. Tomorrow, you watch, John McCain will be the one guy that will be charging forward. I think you're going to see Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama both treading a bit carefully, because you can even talk to critics of the war that have been over there. Journalists, they will tell you the security situation has improved over the past 6 months. The Democrats need to be careful. John McCain's going to just go waiting full in, and he'll probably be rewarded for it in the polls. It
is a danger, Ed Schultz, I think, for the Democrats if they come in trying to upend General Petraeus. Yes, you've got the Basra situation. You've got new violence. You still have not anywhere near enough political progress, and that's even by General Petraeus' own admission. But as Joe suggests, coming in there trying to upend the idea that there hasn't been some kind of security progress, I think will be difficult. What do you say?
Well, I think if General Petraeus comes in, David, and asks for more time and more money to the American people, it's going to sound like the same old report card. I mean, how much actual progress politically has been made in the last 6 months or the last year? I think Barack Obama stands to be the big winner in this entire conversation, because he's been against the war from the start. Even though he voted the same way with Hillary Clinton, the debate changed. The debate talked about supporting the troops and ending the mission.
But Ed,
so
can you explain why he's down 14 percentage points to John McCain in head-to-head matchups on Iraq?
You know, Joe, that's speculation upon speculation. We are a long way away from the November general election. The fact is that John McCain said not long ago that al-Sadr was losing his influence.
Yeah, which
now,
would trouble me that he's 14 percentage points ahead of Barack Obama despite all of these mess-ups.
What is the actual situation on the ground? How many billions of dollars have we spent to get where we are right now, closer to a political situation? That's how the American people are going to view this testimony. Everybody's in favor of the troops. Everybody wants conclusion. But this surge has not offered the kind of solution that the American people are looking for.
Don't tell that to the American people.
All right, let me get in here. I'm going to move on. Next up is Condoleezza Rice looking to jump on John McCain's ticket. Former White House advisor Dan Senor, who was over in Iraq, as you remember, with Paul Bremer, says Secretary of State Rice is, quote, actively campaigning for the VP spot. NBC's own Kelly O'Donnell asked McCain about this issue on the plane. Take a look at this.
Senator, there was some talk on the Sunday shows about Condoleezza Rice sending signals that she might be open to an invitation to be your running mate.
I did not hear that. I missed those signals. I think she's a great American. I think there's very little that I can say that isn't anything but the utmost praise for a great American citizen who served as a role model to so many millions of people in this country and around the world.
Condoleezza Rice has said, by the way, in the past that she is not interested in being on the ticket. Our second question tonight, would a Vice President Rice be John McCain's ace if she were on the ticket? Ann, what do you say?
It's a really interesting concept, and of course she's said over and over she's not interested. They all do until they're actually invited to be on the ticket. So I think even when they say never, it doesn't always mean never. In the case of Secretary Rice, she's been around this whole Bush administration term. The prospect of leaving office now before the mission is complete, so to speak, in Iraq, and looking at the prospect of a Democratic ticket that could include the first African American on it has got to be very appealing to her. So there are a lot of things about it that may not make sense at first blush, but when you think about it, really might.
Yeah. Well, I think there may be some clear upsides to it, and I don't think that campaigns are all about issues. They're really about personality and authenticity and personal attributes. Nevertheless, if John McCain wants to turn that page on the Bush administration, particularly on Iraq, I don't see how you do that with Condoleezza Rice.
Well, the question then becomes, what does Condoleezza Rice symbolize? Because in addition to the question of whether or not John McCain would be bringing along an unwanted part of the Bush legacy, there's also a question, for example, I think many people admire Condoleezza Rice, but many people also don't like her, based not just, not on a stylistic issue, but on what she represents within the administration. And I think if you look at the African American communities and voters, you find a real degree of ambivalence about her as a figure, liking the fact that she's achieved this greatness, but also disliking how she's operated. So if you're talking about swing voters and crossover voters, I'm not sure that she's going to get them.
All right, finally today, North Carolina will hold its primary May 6th. It's an important one. And today, a new poll out of the Tar Heel State has some revealing numbers. In the Democratic race, Barack Obama leads Hillary Clinton 35% to 26%. with 39% of likely voters saying they are undecided. The poll also looked at the general election, asking voters what their top consideration would be in picking a candidate in November. Nearly 90% said trust, and here's how they rate the candidate's trustworthiness. 54% say they view John McCain as trustworthy, 48% say Obama is trustworthy, but only 25% say Clinton is trustworthy. And Ann Kornblut, they have got to be concerned about that number in particular.
Absolutely. It's one of the top Clinton campaign worries. It's one of the reasons that you didn't see a lot of debate over what to do with Mark Penn. Voters have really, the incident, Senator Clinton's discussion of what happened to her when she landed on the tarmac in Bosnia really hurt. And it hurt because it played into this concept of her as not telling the truth, as saying anything to win. A point, by the way, that the Obama campaign has been making for many weeks now, and it seems to have sunk in. So this is among their, I would say, their top concerns right now. It's a character issue, and they haven't yet found a way to really counter it.
Joe, real quick on that big undecided chunk, I think it's striking for a primary in May with so many debates and so much debate and conversation about this campaign. What does that tell you about the nature of the electorate in North Carolina based on this poll? Well, what are they looking to find out?
What it tells me is those of us in Washington and New York who've been smug and condescending and have been said, enough. We've had enough debates. We've had enough primaries. We've had enough news coverage. The Clintons have a point. Bill Clinton has a point. Let the people vote. Let everybody have their say. And, people in North Carolina, just like people in Pennsylvania, have been living their lives. The candidates haven't come to their neighborhoods. The commercials haven't been on their local news shows. When that starts happening, they start focusing in. I think it's great that people are still undecided, and it gives Hillary Clinton some hope. If she can win in Pennsylvania and pull off an upset in North Carolina, then she may be on her way to a very interesting time in Denver.
It is interesting. Real quick here, Ed. It is interesting. Ed Rendell, we talked about earlier in the program, saying, oh, yeah, we think she's very strong here, but we're now saying between 5 and 10 percentage points. They've got an issue here with what they can define as victory, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do.
Well, I think that a lot of people are underestimating the boots on the ground and the infrastructure, the social networking that Barack Obama has. I wouldn't pick against Obama in Pennsylvania. He's closing the gap and he's moving strong on the stump. And I think that in North Carolina is concerned, if John Edwards is going to make a move, if he's going to go with Hillary Clinton, he ought to come out before Pennsylvania because she's going to need the help.
It's an interesting point. One point about Pennsylvania, though, and Barack Obama, he could also get into trouble if the commentariat decides he can actually win this thing and starts talking about that, and then he does it. So the expectation game goes in a lot of directions.